Hey there, quick little video here. I just received this gorgeous Hamilton 992 pocket watch. I believe this is in a white gold case. And the uniqueness of this watch is that it has a Salesman case clear back on it. This is from 1920, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous watch. The actual amplitude on the movement is way up there. The swing on it is another 180 degrees beyond 360. If I could do the math, I'd tell you. So, but it's beautiful. So I timed it, and it's plus 20 seconds a day, so it needs to be regulated. But the amplitude is perfect. The beat error is slightly off, but not by that much. Anyway, I noticed when I received this, other than the fact that it's in gorgeous condition, so I'm going to have to write the gentleman who sold it to me. Really nice guy. It's a bar over crown movement, BOC they call them. I was wondering what the BOC stood for a while, but it's gorgeous. You set it by unscrewing the case here on the front, and then you take take the crystal off, and then pull the lever out, so it's lever set. But I noticed there's a gap here, right there, and that's the case wasn't closing all the way. And I'm like, what the heck is this all about? And the case is nice and smooth. The thread is good on this, so there's no issue there. But then I looked inside, and I saw that the screws that hold the movement down are in fact in the way of the case closing. So the case closes on the top of those screws that hold the movement down. So I don't think that's what is supposed to happen. I think the screws should have been the ones that are notched. So what I'm going to do is mark these screws where they are in the fully tightened position, and then just file the edges down so that the case back will go down completely. So first thing I'm going to do here is just see if I can loosen these a bit. Like, how tight are these things is the question. That's fairly tight on this side, and then on this side, same thing. It looks like it's fairly tight. If I go down, I'm kind of in the way of the whole filming here, but let me just do this. And this might be odd. I do have case screws, but what I think I'll do is just file the edges down. So this is fully tight here. So I'll get a marker, got a little black or red marker or something. Black marker here, and I'll just touch the edges where it extends beyond the line of the movement, and so that's where the screw will be filed for that one. And then I will do the same on this side, and I'll lose a little bit of the slot for the screwdriver, but this is kind of a simpler way of doing it because I've tightened them both. And then I'll make sure that that the top one, these get in the right position, because the threads will line up that way, right? So it has to be in the right position. So when I unscrew this here, let me see, I'll just get my head out of the way here and unscrew this. Okay, there we go. And it's a slight modification to this watch. I know darn well that these screws wouldn't be placed in that position, right? So where I cut them there, let me think how I'll do this here. Because if I cut the edges off of this side here, right, too much of it, then the case, it won't hold the movement in, right? So I got to be careful that I don't cut too much off. Let me have a look again with the case screwed in, because I may just bring them down a bit, and that might suffice. So screw this back in and see if it lands in the same place. It does when I tighten it. I don't want to scratch the movement here. I gotta watch myself. So just yeah, that's odd. That is an odd. That's kind of odd. Yeah, that screw is in the way of the case, and it looks as though the case could go down even further. Let me think what to do here. I could take a bit of material off those screws, but even then I may have an issue because maybe the salesman's case was never meant to go completely down. Because if I taper those screws or just flatten them on that side, then the case will go down. But do I have enough room for the movement to be, grabbing properly, right, to keep the movement in place? And I don't want to screw that up. So I got to think about this. I think I'll do some thinking and I'll be back. As I explained earlier, this beautiful Hamilton pocket watch, there it is there. The case back goes down only so far until it hits these screws. And I was going to shave some material off the screws. And then I thought, well, maybe the screws aren't even on when you have a Salesman case back. So what I'm going to do is remove the screws and then put the back of the case on again and see if it's secure. Because if it moves around, then you'd think there's an issue, right? So the other option here is to shave material off the edge and hope that it still grabs this here, because as I said before, when you put this on, it's a Salesman case, so it screws on, actually goes on pretty nicely. I gotta wait till feel for the thread here, and then once you've found the thread, it spins on nicely like that. Now if I don't tighten it, does it have any movement? That's the question. Okay, I can hear it rocking back and forth when I don't have it tightened. So that's one way of doing it. So you just take it, put your thumb over the back, and then move it side to side. And you can actually feel it moving around inside the case. And now when I tighten the case down, just tighten that case nicely, and nothing. There's no movement whatsoever. So I think that the case, the back of this case secures this movement down. I'd like some comments from anybody who knows, but I think the back of this case secures the movement down, and you don't need the movement screws on the side, because the movement screws block the back from rolling on. So that's kind of a waste. It would look nicer with the movement screws in. So the other thing I was going to do is just shave the sides off the movement screws, but I'd hate to destroy these screws. I don't know if they're the originals or whether a watchmaker basically decided to put these screws in. But if I look at the screws and the size of them, they should be the exact same size, and they're not. One is shorter than the other. So that makes no sense at all, because these screws would have been exactly the same size. So I think a watchmaker probably put these screws in, and then they tried to screw the back on, and it wouldn't tighten. I looked at the corners or the edges here, and it was not good. So the edges were there was a gap, which you don't want in a beautiful movement like this. So it's tightened down now, and there's no movement at all in the watch. So I'm going to leave it like this for now. This is the Hamilton. It's a 992 movement, double roller, adjusted to 5 positions. It's a railroad grade pocket watch. For you guys out there that care, it's serial number 2847227. 2847227. So I'm going to look this up right now and let you know a little bit of information about this watch. All right, look this guy up. So I made a mistake on the serial number. It's 2347227, and it is a grade 992 Model 2. The quantity run on this was, for this particular one, it was 9,000, and they ran 447,000 of these 992s in production. Of course, not with the Salesman case. It has a went to the finishing department June 23rd, 1925. So 1925. It's 21 joule. The jewels are ruby and sapphire. It's in gold settings, and it says it's screw set. Open face. The movement finish itself is nickel. It's got, I know the case, I'll talk about the case in a second, but it's a double roller. That's a going barrel with a reed regulator, a Brigitte hairspring. The pallet jewel material is sapphire, so it's got sapphire pallet jewel. That's the impulse jewel. It's a double sunk dial on it. It is adjusted, and it's adjusted to 5 positions. It is adjusted to temperature, to isochronism, and it's also a railroad grade pocket watch. So it's pretty good. The high value on this pocket watch, I believe the case is white gold. So I gotta look up the gold finished. I'm not sure if they have white gold here, but I'll say gold 20-year finish, whatever. It's in mint condition, so I know it's only a very low percentage. So the retail value of this thing is $600 to $794. The average is 384 US. The high is 496, right? And it's 435 non-working. And this thing has got a swing on the balance of about, well, whatever 365 plus plus 180 is. So, and I am an engineer, so I should know the answer to that, right? So, so it's got a very strong amplitude. I measured it on one of my tools, and it said it was 284, which is, and then you double that for the swing, right? So, because the amplitude is half. So, and yeah, it's a very nice pocket watch. And then I'll look at the case here. The case, I have to look up the case number because I'm going to look up Salesman cases. So this is a Salesman case because you could go to somebody and say, to sell one of these beautiful Hamilton pocket watches, and the salesman would be able to flip it over and just show the movement and the gold settings. And I know that these spokes in the center wheel are also gold or gold filled or something, and I think they're 14 karat gold filled, and the settings here are all gold and are inlaid, and 21 jewels, and you can fine tune this. I looked at it earlier, and I timed it, and it was plus 16 seconds a day or something like that. So I could tinker with it to get it within like 5 seconds a day, no problem, and I could do that in 5 different positions. So this is a glass case back here too. It's not plastic, and this is also glass. You can tell by the sound when you tap it. So it's got a glass crystal on it, and this is the bar over crown case, which I think is really cool. So when you set this watch, you have to take this off and pull the lever. It's lever set, and I've made a number of videos on that, so I'm not going to take this off right now. But it's lever set, and it says Hamilton case on here. So this is a Hamilton case as well, so it wasn't recased. So it says Hamilton on the top, Hamilton Railroad. So right there, Hamilton Railroad. Hamilton Railroad. So it's the railroad style case, and they use these to they'd set them in the morning and then hand them out, and the railroad guys would go and make sure that they were all on time and they weren't colliding trains together. It's also a very nice finish on it. There's nothing going on here at all with the finish. The case number in the back, I'm going to take this off for a second, see if I can need more friction to lift this, so just lick my fingers a little bit to lift this up. And there's the case, and there's a case number. Where is that case number? I think the case number is in the front, actually. Didn't even have to take this off. Darn it. So beautiful movement, though, right? Just sort of bore you with this. I'm not making parts today, which is unusual for me, right? And tighten that down nicely. There, that's a lot better now, because before there was a crack there, and it was just bugging the crap out of me. So, and the movement has no movement in there at all. So this case holds the movement down. So I'll take the front off and look at the case number and see if I can find the case and see what material it's made of. So there's a case number right on the base here, and you can see that in the video. And the case number is this video is way too loud, probably. It's V88354. So case is V88354. So let me look up Hamilton cases and see if I can. Oh, there's how you set it, by the way. You pull the lever out here like that, and then you set the watch like that. Now the watch, I just noticed the watch movement's a little loose here because the screws aren't in. So this here on this side, when I put this in, this holds the watch down. I don't think there's any other way I can do this unless I file those screws somehow. And I'd like to have them in there, but I'm not doing that tonight. So if I put this in place, right there, that's nicely in and nothing moves now. So it's all set. So what was that number again? V88354, I think. I hope I'm right. So I'm going to look this up and get right back. Okay, from the writings I found about this skeleton case, they actually call it a skeleton case as opposed to a salesman case, but they were used by salesmen. So it says that these cases, they were called skeleton cases, right? And they included a grade number, which I saw in this one as well, and a serial number, which I also saw. And the movements were displayed in the jeweler's showcase in these cases. So when the jeweler was trying to sell a watch, they would put the movement in one of these cases, and then once the movement was sold, the watch movement would be placed in the case that was chosen by the buyer. So, because you wouldn't want to walk around with these cases because you'd break the glass on them. So the jeweler would accumulate skeleton cases until they had a reasonable quantity of these cases, and they'd mail them back to Hamilton Watch Company, and Hamilton would pay a small bounty for each skeleton case that was returned, and that's basically how they did this with these skeleton cases. I've only seen one up, but you probably can get more for auction, but I've only seen one. Maybe there's for auction that was for a railroad grade watch of this type in a beautiful skeleton case. So I suspect that you could put a normal case back on the back of this case as well, but this is just such a gorgeous way of displaying the movement. So what I would do with this watch, instead of carrying it in my pocket, I would put this watch in another kind of solid case of some sort, and then have that in my pocket so this glass part wouldn't get broken. That's just to show people what the watch looks like. So that's a Hamilton size 16 992 movement in a skeleton case, and it's just one gorgeous pocket watch. And what I did was I removed the screws from it, and skeleton or salesman case, I removed the screws from it, which on the side, which allowed me to secure the back, like completely secure the back. So I think that they didn't care whether the back was secured when they put this into the case, because they were just showing potential buyers the movement, and they didn't really care if there was a seal on the case at all. So they'd show them the movement, and then they'd when the person bought that kind of watch, then they would recase it, or I think in this case, a little humor, they would recase it and then go from there. So anyway, this is my brand new Hamilton 992, 1925, 21 jewel railroad grade, regulated, adjusted to 5 positions, and just a beautiful example of a vintage pocket watch. So hopefully this video wasn't as exciting as some of the ones where I'm making lathe parts or making parts in a lathe and stuff. But this is one gorgeous watch. So I have another 992 movement in a kind of a worn out case, but it's not in something I can actually display. So there you go. Thanks a lot. If I ever break the crystal on this, I'll have to buy another one. Probably get it specially custom cut. So thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.